Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Cruise News Show. I am your host, Tony, and in today's episode, I'm going to give you 5 things that could completely shut cruising down again once it resumes. And I got some sad Carnival news. I got some sad cruise news. Really, it could just be sad to me, but I'm going to share it with you. So, look, go get your life jacket, head to Muster Station C, and let's get this thing underway. Thanks again for stopping by the show. If you like those daily cruise news updates, please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of these episodes. Well, let me hit you hard and heavy with the sad Carnival Cruise news. And again, it may only be sad to me, but yesterday, cruise director Mikey announced his retirement after working with Carnival Cruise Lines for 7 years. Cruise director Mikey was our cruise director on our very first cruise on the Carnival Fantasy, a lovely gentleman from South Africa, high energy, and really set the standard for us when it came to cruise directors. That dude brought the fun, recently married, and now making changes so that he can be with his family and no longer a Carnival cruise director. Thank you, Mikey, for the good times. Thanks for the introduction to the cruise life, and we appreciate you, and we wish you the best luck going forward. Did any of you guys ever have cruise director Mikey on a Carnival fun ship, or who's your favorite cruise director? Leave a comment below. All right, everybody wipe the tears from your eyes and let's put on our big boy and big girl pants and talk about something serious. It is the 24th of September. We are 6 days away from the expiration of the CDC no-sail order, and it looks like all things are a go for cruising, at least right now in this moment. Obviously, things could change, so let's take it as it is. Let's take it as cruising will resume in November when the CLIA voluntary ban on sailing ends. So let's talk about the 5 things that could shut cruising down again in 2020. So the first thing that I think could really hinder cruising as we try to return is too much too soon. The reality is there are a lot of cruises on the books. Tons of cruises on the books in November. Tons of cruises on the books in December. People chomping at the bit to cruise. But the reality is there's no way that all those cruises can go off and it be a manageable situation as the cruise lines try to restart cruising in North America. There's going to have to be more cancellations in November and December. This is just my personal prediction. I say that not to bum anybody out, but I just want folks that have cruises in November and December to still be cautious. Even if all the stars align, the CDC no-sail order expires, CLIA sticks with their date. If all of that happens, it's not a guarantee that you're still going to cruise in November or December. The cruise line executives have not hidden the fact that the return to cruising in the United States will be a phased approach. It will be a minimal amount of cruise ships. How they're going to work that out between themselves, that's going to be interesting to see that play out. Does Carnival get to put out more ships than Royal? Does Norwegian get to put out more ships? Where does MSC come into play? Are they working together to make sure everything goes smoothly? Or is it a dog-eat-dog scenario where Carnival's going to do their own thing and Royal's going to do their own thing and Norwegian's going to do their own thing and MSC's going to do their own thing? And I hope that's not the case. I really hope there is some solidarity when it comes to the resumption of cruising. But business is business, so it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But honestly, the whole thing's going to get wrecked if it's too much too soon. Look, I got a cruise in December, but if it has to be sacrificed so that cruising can resume safely and in a way where it doesn't shut down again, then cancel my cruise. But yeah, everybody needs to be prepared for that. It's going to take a group effort here to get this thing going, and some people are going to have to sacrifice. Another thing that I think is really going to hurt the resume to cruising is policies around denial and cancellation. Now, there's been a lot of questions out there that I personally don't have the answer to, that I haven't been able to find the answer to, but questions that will have to be answered as cruising resumes. Questions like, if I go to the cruise port and I test positive for the virus and they deny me boarding, do I get my money back? Do I get my travel money back? If you kick everybody off in my party, do they get their money back? Or is it one of those deals that because I wasn't healthy enough to sail, that I'm just out the money? Sometimes these cruise contracts are written in a very restrictive way to protect them from giving you back money. This is a whole new world, and hopefully there's going to be some leeway in these contracts that allow you to get your money back if you're denied boarding, where you don't have to just say, okay, give me a future sailing. I think that's going to cause a lot of turmoil if people get to the cruise port and get denied boarding, and then after they get denied boarding, they can't even get their money back. I can tell you there's going to be, I would be hot in that situation. I don't think I would be satisfied with, okay, you denied me boarding and you don't give me anything, or you just give me a future cruise credit. So I think this is something the cruise lines are going to have to address. And then the other set of people are people that are not that cool with the new protocols. So how about that? All of a sudden, you booked a cruise before the pandemic, or you took advantage of a future cruise credit because of a cancellation, and now that cruise life is going to be drastically different for you than what you were expecting. Maybe you're not somebody that wants to do the protocols. Are you going to be able to get your money back, or are they just going to say, look, that's what it is, and you can get a future cruise credit, or you can get nothing, so sad, love dad, that kind of thing? I don't think that's going to fly with the customer base, and so I think that could be a hindrance to cruising going forward. So hopefully there is some sort of plan there. This is a special situation, right? Like, it's not old school, oh, I just decided I didn't want to cruise before all this happened. This is like a whole special circumstance. So I hope that there is some sort of consideration being put into what about people who don't want to cruise under the new protocols, because you're going to have a percentage of people that don't want to cruise under the new protocols, and I don't think they should be disadvantaged because what you offered them before the pandemic is different than what you're offering them now. So I really hope that the cruise lines are taking that into consideration. Number 3, and this is the one that screams super loud, how will the cruise lines respond to an outbreak on a cruise ship? I think we're naive to think that there's never going to be an outbreak on a cruise ship again. We've seen it happen already with other cruise lines that have trying to restart. I do believe the protocols will create a cruise bubble, that you will have some opportunities for safe cruising, but the virus, man, it's a predator. It's sneaky. It's happy to jump from host to host. And so again, I don't think that we could confidently say that there's never going to be an outbreak on a cruise ship again. But what we can see is how the cruise lines respond to an outbreak. We've got more knowledge now. There's a lot more information as to what happens in the event of an outbreak. New policies are in place, and the strength of those policies, of those protocols, will really set the tone for how cruising goes forward. If you run into a situation where there's an outbreak and everybody's quarantined on a cruise ship and nobody can get off the cruise ship, and the outbreak continues to spread and spread and spread, that's not good. That's something that will shut down cruising for a long time. And so the response to outbreak, how it is handled, and is it different, and is that drastically different to how it was handled before the cruise lines knew anything about this thing back in March? That is going to be something to watch and watch closely. How the cruise lines respond to outbreak, going to be a big thing that everybody's watching, and it's going to be one of those things where cruising staying open will hang on some of those protocols. Number 4, I think this is going to be a tough one for cruising in the Americas. One thing that will definitely shut cruising down again is people not following the protocols. It's no secret that if you're from the United States, you're brought up in a culture that teaches you that you are an individual, that you have individual rights, and that your rights should not be usurped by the government or anybody else, that you have the right to be vocal about your rights, that you have the right to establish your rights. And this could get us in trouble when cruising resumes. There is going to need to be a huge level of compliance to the protocols for this cruise bubble to work. The integrity of the cruise bubble will quickly fall apart if people do not want to participate in these protocols. Now, some of the protocols are easy, right? If you don't want to take a test before you get on the cruise ship, that's simple. You just don't even get to get on the cruise ship. The cruise lines aren't going to let you on the cruise ship. No big deal if you don't want to do that protocol because you won't make it onto the cruise ship. But the challenge is, once you get on the cruise ship, will you social distance? Will you wear a mask where it is required? Those are going to be the big ones. If those protocols are not adhered to, you risk the whole system that's in place to make cruising safe, all for your individual rights. Look, I think this is going to be a huge challenge. I don't think there's anybody out there that thinks everybody's going to get on board and just follow all the protocols. But if you don't, I think it's going to mess up cruising going forward. And so my hope is that people who decide to participate in cruising as it's restarting would do it with the best faith effort possible to follow the protocols, because if you don't, it's not going to work. And number 5 is closely related. The cruise lines are going to have to take a strong approach when it comes to enforcement. If you find people that are thumbing their nose in the face of the protocols, you got to lock them down and get them off the cruise ship. You have to enforce the protocols, because if you do not enforce the protocols, it's not going to work. There are use cases that prove that out. Herzegruden, for example, they admitted that they did not follow their own protocols that they put in place, and shortly after they resumed cruising, they had a virus outbreak, and that virus outbreak caused them to shut down cruising for the rest of the year. Best case scenario would be that people who don't want to follow the protocols would not go cruising initially, ride it out until these protocols subside or till things change, and combine that with a cruising culture where the cruise line will enforce the protocols. I think that's the best chance that we have at creating this safe cruising bubble. I, for one, hope that it works out. I think there are enough people that will want to comply, that will go on cruise ships and help the cruise industry survive. And I hope that people's individualism doesn't get in their way so much where they just want to go and do whatever they want on the cruise ship. And look, I'm all for individualism. I think that's one of the things that makes America great. But I also think that another thing that makes America great is our ability to pull together for a common good. And maybe cruising doesn't seem like a common good to you, but if you're a part of that cruise life, I think you want cruising to survive. And it's one of those circumstances where we almost have to lay down some of our individual desires and pull together as a collective to get cruising going again. And I really hope that people do that. These are 5 things that really could shut cruising down again pretty quickly. Which one of these 5 do you think is the biggest deal? What do you think is the one that will really crush cruising? Leave a comment below. Thank you so much for watching the show today. I hope you enjoyed it. Please show your support by hitting the like button. If you want to know more about the cruise bubble, I did make a video. I will leave it right here. And watch this other video. YouTube thinks it's awesome. Thank you again. My name's Tony for Lido Loca, and until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido.